Welcome back to Information Technology Fundamentals. We're going to have a quick overview of the use of mobile devices. We're going to identify the key features and what differentiates a mobile device from a standard computer. We're going to look at how you configure network, email, and some data transfer settings on mobile devices. So one of the things that makes a mobile device different from a standard computer is that it is a touchscreen and it has a gesture-based interaction, which means we're going to do pinching and for zooming and tap and double tap. It also has a variety of extra sensors that your computer doesn't have. So it knows where you are because it has GPS, it has an accelerometer, and it could have other sensors in there such as temperature and humidity. That's going to differentiate it from a standard computer. All mobile devices today built into their operating system have speech recognition and try to incorporate hands-free operation so you can be using it in your car. And standard mobile device has a variety of different ways that you can lock it to protect the information that's stored on it. We're going to call that a screen lock. Typically, we can use a PIN, which is going to be numbers, a pattern code, so a certain way that we swipe on the screen, or a biometric device, which could be a fingerprint scanner, and recently Apple has brought about face scanning. Your device is also going to have a lockout policy. So how many times can I attempt to get into it before it locks me out or doesn't allow me to get into it? And our mobile devices today support the remote wiping of data and settings. So if you lose your phone or it's stolen, you can log into your home computer, go to a website, and tell the phone to erase all of the data. Now that's going to work as long as the device is on. If someone has the device and it's turned off, obviously you're not going to be able to wipe what's on there. Your current Apple device, iOS, is going to have encryption turned on by default. The device is encrypted by encryption for the whole device and everything that is stored locally. And this allows for remote wiping by a couple of keystrokes on your computer. Android also supports full disk encryption. Because Android comes in so many flavors, you can't say that it's enabled by default, but several manufacturers do enable it by default. So Samsung notably, but you'll have other manufacturers that do not have it turned on by default. One of the things that differentiates mobile devices is how you get programs or apps on them. It is recommended that you use the App Store for iOS and for Google Play for Android. Developers that create apps and put them into either of these stores have the apps checked so you can be relatively certain that they don't have malware or anything else, bugs in them that are going to harm your device. That being said, in both cases, there have been instances where malware has gotten through the process, but it's much less likely than if you were just to go to a random website and download an app. When you grab an app from either the Google Play or the App Store, one of the things that makes mobile devices different as well is the fact that the app runs in what's called a sandbox, which means each app has its own set of restrictions that the user has to give it access to. So a device or an app that's downloaded won't have access to the contacts unless you give it permission to do so. That is also different from a standard computer. Mobile devices use two different ways to connect to networks, Wi-Fi, which we've talked about previously, and also cellular data. That gives them access to the internet from just about anywhere. If you're at your home, you're using Wi-Fi. If you're out and about, you're using mobile data. All devices support something called airplane mode, which turns off the radios so you can still use your device while you're on the plane. However, you're not going to have access to phone and internet service, but you can still use your device. Mobile devices support email. Most have built-in apps that are available and have some basic, as you can see on the screen here on the slide. If you have one of these types of accounts, simply click on it and the iOS is going to automatically configure it. If you don't use one of the major email vendors, you can manually configure it as well. And the same is true on Android devices. So you should be able to get all of your email on your local device. Now, if you're working for a company where you may be getting sensitive information from the company onto your computer, onto your mobile device, you again have to be worried about security. Make sure you have a good passcode, passphrase, or biometric so nobody else can access your email. Devices use different types of synchronization for transferring data. Apple and Android both have the ability to use the cloud to back up and transfer data. Apple uses the iCloud to back up your device. It is somewhat limited, so I think it's only 5 gigabytes at this point. So if you have more than 5 gigabytes of data on your device, you're going to have to pay for extra storage from Apple. Android will use your Google Drive, and both of those operating systems will allow you to use other services such as Dropbox or Box to back up your devices as well. In both cases, your mobile device can be plugged into your computer to transfer data locally. So on this screen, you can see that the backup settings are being put in place for an Apple device, and you get to choose what you want to back up into your iCloud account. The same would hold true for an Android device. You get to decide what you want to back up. If you back up your photos and your videos, obviously those take up the most room. And you may decide you want to do that manually rather than eat up all your cloud storage with those. So we looked at the different types of features in our iOS and Google devices and how they differentiate themselves from a standard operating system on a computer. We looked at how you can configure the network, email, and some data transfer settings on those devices.